Hi everyone, this is Dave with Learning Media Arabic, and today I've just got some tips about language learning in general that I've learned over the years, and thought some of them might be useful. So let's see what we got. First one is to record yourself, like from the very beginning. Get a either like a digital audio recorder or something to take with you when you're practicing, and every time you learn a new word, say it, play it back, see if it sounds like the Arabic word spoken by a native speaker. As I write here, from the beginning, work to improve your pronunciation to sound as much like a native as possible. As painful as it can be to hear yourself make many mistakes, which will happen, it's much easier than correcting bad habits later on. It'll pay dividends down the line when you spend a lot of time getting certain sounds that might be foreign. You'll want to rush ahead, and there's nothing keeping you from learning new words without being able to say them correctly, but the more you practice, the better it's going to be. So that's the first tip. Next one is to study widely. While you may be learning another language for a specific purpose, make sure you gain exposure to the language in many different contexts. Language is drawn from culture, and you can miss out on quite a bit if you restrict yourself to one or two areas. Focus is good in moderation, but be curious too. And I kind of aimed this to those who want to learn a language for, say, business or for a specific field, or to learn just how to say conversational whatever language. I really truly believe that, well, yes, you're not going to be able to learn everything, and it's a foolish goal anyway, but don't restrict yourself, because people in every setting will use the language as their culture has dictated, not for your purposes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might say, I'm going to learn business Arabic or something like that, and so you focus on business terms and negotiation, and you really focus on that, but you might be talking to someone who most of the time is using business style Arabic with you. However, they might say something that is part of the culture that you didn't focus on, because you can't know everything that pops up. So I'm urging you to study widely. It keeps your interest up. Be curious about different aspects of the language and different registers. You might be wanting to learn formal register for whatever business you're doing, but learn informal stuff. Don't be restricted, because your brain really wants to learn the language as a whole and wants to be a part of that culture. So there's my tip, second tip. Then I have don't translate, and this is one of those things that's easier said than done, but one way to do that, to avoid translating, is you might begin your studies learning definitions of foreign words in your native language, but as soon as you can rid yourself of those definitions that pop up as you see a foreign word. You might see the word for apple in, say, French, but and you think in your head apple, but to rid yourself of that and to get yourself thinking in the language, you have to find that word in many contexts. The word apple used, obviously as a food, or used as a metaphor, or used in a story, used in a proverb, used in so many different ways over time that you've created an image of a French image of an apple, for example, as opposed to just the word apple. Yes, you're going to start out just saying, okay, it means apple, and that'll be the fastest thing that comes to you. So when you're listening, for instance, you'll just English words will keep popping in your head, because that's how you've trained yourself, especially if you use something like flashcards or something, and that's fine. But eventually, just through exposure, and as I put in the second part here, using the words or phrases in different contexts, that helps a great deal, because if you're able to use the words in your own, like you are trying to express this idea, you can't use the English word apple. So in whatever context you wanted to use apple, and say you were reaching for an apple and were asking for it, that's going to stick in your mind really well. That word is going to be, because it's something you needed, something you expressed at that time, you're going to remember it that much better. And so when you hear it again or you want to say it again, you won't be thinking, oh, what's that word for apple? You'll just be saying and thinking in the language, which is the ultimate goal for most people. Unless you are trying to become a translator, someone who can translate straight into English when they hear it, which some of us do or would like to do, and that's a different skill set that I think most people don't necessarily want, because they want to be able to think and react quickly, as opposed to just being able to read or listen and then state in English what's being said. That's a separate skill, and so if you don't, most people don't want to be a translator, and that's cool. So this is my I guess fix for that, or at least it's an approach that you can take. All right. Use grammar as a guide, not a goal. That's just, I just like to use the letter G, I guess. But after the initial push to get yourself settled in a language, learn grammar as you need it, and work to internalize each part as you go. The rules exist merely to aid your understanding, not to be your master. Basically, just in a philosophical sense, in my belief, a language is, it's already formed, it's already complete. It doesn't need these rules. It just came about, it evolved. You know, the point of the grammar is merely to describe the language in a systematic way. But remember that the whole point is to communicate. So whereas some languages will have suffixes to communicate who you're talking about, others might have prefixes, others might use a separate particle to do that. And don't get bogged down in, oh, there's all these different, cases and different. The point is to express things and not confuse your listener. So with that in mind, obviously, like I said, initial push to get yourself settled. In other words, you can go ahead and learn, what a verb is, what a phrase, noun is, etc. That's not a problem. But then as you move forward, learn grammar as you need it, meaning if you're reading basic stuff, learn basic grammar. Don't go ahead and read a book, a grammar book, and just read all the way through and expect yourself to know everything from the very beginning, and expect yourself to use rather advanced grammatical rules right off the bat. It's not necessary, and it comes off as being artificial if you're trying to use some strange subjunctive whatever, and you don't know how to say, I want to go to the store or something like that. So it's perfectly fine to start slow and to work yourself and get the basic rules down. Go ahead and feel free to just let the other stuff fall by the wayside for now, because it'll build upon itself, and pretty soon the easy stuff will become that much easier, and you'll be able to focus a little bit more on the more difficult stuff. So this is just something I noticed with some language learners. They want to learn the grammar first, and they need that as, I want to say, it's kind of a crutch to keep themselves from speaking or trying to speak. Finally, I think this is the fifth one. Listen and repeat a lot to train your ear and your tongue. That a lot should be in bold. I'll just read this. The processes of listening and speaking are more than knowing the vocab and grammar or knowing the right words to say. It's a skill, like learning how to sing a song, more than a subject to be tested. And like many skills, it doesn't take much smarts or much intelligence. It just takes a lot of practice. And that's the point of this, is to say that once you think you're done listening and speaking, you're ready to start. I'm trying to be philosophical here, I guess, or something, or inspirational, I don't know, but basically you want to, once, say you've listened to a passage 2 or 3 times, or you've sort of figured it out. Once you think, okay, now I understand it, first of all, you should try to speak it, try to repeat it. But second, even after you've done that, listen to it again 2 or 3 more times. Get it as a song to be learned rather than a subject to be tested. Because this isn't one of those things where you're going to sit down and take a test. Well, there are tests, but if you're in a program or something for it. But the point for learning a language is to be able to internalize it. And you're not going to be sitting down taking a written test and saying, improving how much you remember. It's how fast and how fluent it comes out. I'm not saying speed is that important. I talk too fast often, and sometimes I talk too slow. And I still consider myself a native speaker of English. But anyway, so don't just think, okay, it's all vocabulary and grammar. I gotta learn the rules. I gotta learn these words. A lot of it is happening behind the scenes, and that just takes repetition. So that's it for this. Let's see if this will... I'll just back out of this and go back to that. Okay, those are my 5 language learning tips. I hope it's been somewhat thought-provoking, and I encourage you to comment, ask me questions, criticize, whatever, on my YouTube page, and I'll see you next time.